Hey and welcome, msKIRAspeaks. Before we get started, I ask that you watch the videos till the end, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Your girl is here on the late night in her pajamas. I will be sitting on the floor, but I don't think I can get up. Power is back Sunday, y'all, and we are here for another episode of Power Book 2 Ghost, Season 2, Episode 5, Coming Home to Roost. I have so many notes, so I hope that I can get them all out and that this video does not cut off and I have to piece it together. And I'm gonna try not to fast talk like your girl can. So the episode opens and we're with Zeke. He's in the car with Monet and Davis heading to turn himself in. Davis tells him, don't talk to anyone on the inside. They will rat you out just to save their own ass. Just shut up and blend in. They're gonna go in through the back to avoid the press. Monet tells him every moment he's in there, she will be doing everything in her power to get him out. Zeke tells her he doesn't think she has much control over this. It's too late for that. So we see Tariq. He wakes up in Lauren's room and it looks kind of like he overslept. He texts Davis and he rushes on out. And then we're right back where we left off at the police station. Jenny shows up. Kamaal and Detective Kevin are also there. They no longer need Zeke to turn himself in anymore. We knew that was coming when we saw the end of episode 4. Davis asks her to repeat herself and says his client deserves some answers. Kamaal says Zeke is no longer a suspect. And then Detective Kevin overtalks him and says there's been some new developments. We won't be holding Mr. Cross at this time. Monet and Zeke, they're headed out the door, and Davis says he expects a full press briefing to clear his client today. Jenny says she'll see what she can do. So as Monet and Zeke are walking out the door, Monique says, I knew you were going to be fine, because he was innocent all along. Zeke says, yeah, but he's radioactive after that interview. He may be free, but who's going to want to draft him now? Monet offers him a ride back to school. She's sure that things will turn themselves around. So Kamal, he calls out Detective Kevin for cutting him off. He's like, to keep you from telling the kids something he could take back to his accomplice. Kamaal says, you sound like a broken record. How long is he going to be your suspect? Ramirez and Reynolds were both killed with Ramirez's gun. If Zeke was going to commit a crime, why would he give you Ramirez's PBA card? He gave you a connection. Detective Kevin is still in his feelings, and he points out how Ramirez's body pops up the day after Zeke bombs on TV. Kamaal says Zeke is not their only lead. He's been reading Jabari's novel, and he starts to try to point out that there are landmarks and connections, but Detective Kevin interrupts. Are you going to let me speak? Because I do my job well. And I was just about to say, Kamaal is the only one there on the whole show doing some actual police work. He points out that the first novel was inspired by actual events, and his new book is about some serious drug activity that takes place on a campus that resembles Stansfield. What if he got himself into something not so fictional? Indeed, he did, Kamaal. And I tell you, he is putting those puzzle pieces together. So Tariq, he rushes into his room and Braden tells him they have to talk later. There were some dorm sweeps for drugs and some of their customers got pulled in. But Tariq, he's preoccupied. Tariq's always got something going on. He says he'll talk later, but for now, just get everything out of there and on the roof for the time being. He asks if Kane came around asking or looking for him. Braden says, no, why? What's going on? Oh, Braden, you let Kane get in your head and now you're lying to your homie. Tariq tells him if any of the Tejadas come around asking where he is or anything like that, you don't know shit. Braden still wants to know why, and Tariq tells him, just stay away from Kane and text me if they come over here. And then he walks on out the door. So Carrie, she's on her way to her office and Monet calls her. She's like, oh, she's about to call you. She's like, Monet's like, bitch, I didn't call you for that. So Monet tells her the cops no, Zeke didn't do it. So whatever you're doing, stop right now. It's done. Do they find the new suspect? That's not your problem or mine. They let him go. That's all that matters. And then as she's ending, she's like, this is all your fault anyway. She doesn't want to ever see her face again or hear her name. Stay the F away from Zeke. Stay away from me. Keep your job. You don't know me. I don't know you. You don't know Zeke. So soon as she hangs up, Kamaal and Detective Kevin walk in. They could use her help. She says she thinks she's helped already, and that's where she should have pumped her brakes and ended point blank, period. But no. They have Jabari's manuscript, and they would like for her to read it. So Dante meets Monet at the bar, and she tells him that when they took Zeke that morning, there had been some developments, and they did not want to keep Zeke anymore, so she took him back to school. She handled the situation without his money. We don't need to fight anymore, Dante. I mean, not necessarily, but you still needed that money for Davis. There's nothing to fight. She says she's been making some really big mistake lately, like leaving their son at the precinct while she was off playing princess with him. She says she has to get back to reality and face her responsibilities and stop all the fairy tale bullshit. He says he's trying to give her a choice. He has a trust. He set it up, but he hasn't filed it for all of her kids. And then she can choose the life that she wants, the man that she wants. Blah, 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 blah. All she has to do is sign. She tells him she does not need a redo. He tries to kiss her, and she says it's too much and asks him to go. He points out that she almost lost Zeke this time. You know, what's going to happen next time, basically, he says. And then he says he's not leaving New York until she leaves with him. So Tariq walks into class, and Miss Lauren is annoyed that he ran out that morning. And man, Lauren, you either better get used to it or let it go. I vote for let it go. He tells her he had to make an appointment. He needs to get an apartment so he can get his sister. The hearing's tomorrow. And Lauren's like, that's really fast. Do you need help? So they have their little chit chat, and Tate and Professor Carrie walk in. She writes karma on the board. The kids point out that wasn't in the last night's reading. She thought she'd keep everybody on their toes. Bushandre says, isn't that more theological than ethical? Perhaps, Professor Milgram says. Who can define karma? So Lauren answers, and Carrie wants to know why would that be important in an ethical disclosure. She directs the question to Tariq. He answers, and then Tate goes to jump in, but Professor Carrie says, you can dig deeper. Bushandria, she attempts to jump on in there. You do dirt, you get it right back. And then Lauren trying to say something, but good old Professor Milgram has an axe to grind with Tariq. He's not sure what she's looking for. Karma means you cannot escape your sins, no matter how fast or far you run. It will always catch up to you. Don't you agree, Tariq? That was Professor Milgram. So after class, Lauren and Tariq, they are talking about what just happened in class. They see Zeke, and then they talk about that really quick, and then they see Monet, who calls Tariq's name. Lauren's being nosy. She's like, who's that? He's like, oh, Zeke's aunt. She probably wants, she's probably here to talk to me about his tutoring now that he's back. He's got to go. He'll call her later. So he hops in the car, and they take a drive, and Monet's got that strap on her lap. So she says, she asked him why, of all people, she had to hear from Kane that he was the one that shot the professor they was looking for Zeke for. And he says, it's not like that. He says, Professor Reynolds knew way too much. He figured out all this shit about the GTD once that dude died in the pool. Kane heard Drew's name, lost it, and he shot him. I just cleaned up the mess. She says, you lied right to my face. And y'all was gonna let Zeke hang for that? Tariq says, no, he wasn't. He was the one that got Davis McLean involved. She's worried that how will she know that he's lying again? She pulls over, and Tariq says his plan was supposed to work. Ramirez was supposed to take the fall for it. He didn't know about Zeke and Carrie. He said he had no idea that the police would even look into Zeke. Now, Didn't he find out during that game of secrets that they were doing at school about Zeke and Carrie? But anyway, so if they didn't let Zeke go, you'd be looking for a bullet right now, Monet says. She says they need each other, and she needs him, and he needs to earn her respect back right now. He says he'll do anything. She says she needs him to find out Kane's connect, get her a name, and she'll let him go. And if Kane finds out what you're doing, I'll know that the two of you are up to some shit, and this gun won't stay on my lap next time. Now find your way back home. He gets out the car, he looks at his phone, his calendar pops up. No wonder Tariq is always late. He shoots Davis a quick text, and then good old Professor Carrie, she has a death wish. The book is about Tariq St. Patrick, she says. Detective Kevin thinks that makes Zeke the main character, but she explains that Javari thought that she was sleeping with Tariq. Kamaal points out that St. Patrick's father was rumored to be a major player in the game. Detective Hader says the details on the book don't match. All the interviews of the kids that got picked up in the string said the dealer was white. What if he was working with his roommate, Braden, Carrie asked. Kamaal questions why Braden Weston would have to deal drugs. Detective Kevin says Tariq doesn't have a motive like some other students might have. What if Jabari got close to proving it was Tariq, and maybe Tariq found out, wanted to shut him up? Detective Kevin, he does not want to hear it, because that means that he would actually have to do some police work, connect Tariq to the drugs, and prove that he knew about the book. Kamaal says the wire is the key. They got to up the game with the wire. So Monet meets with Kane at the bar, and she tells him that Tariq admitted everything he said, and she just can't shut her business down without a plan. You ain't going to do shit to him, Kane says. I should get rid of you both for what you did, but I'm giving you a chance for coming clean, and because you're the connect. She needs him to prove to her that it will never happen again. She needs to trust him. She wants to know Tariq's weaknesses. He lied because he's comfortable. If I can control him, this type of shit will never happen again. I hate the way that they are writing these female characters. They're supposed to be powerful, a boss, but they are always so flawed AF. Anywho, so Lauren meets with Professor Milgram in her office. She's trying to give the watch back. I don't think I could wear this anymore. And Carrie says, I don't think that's possible at this point. Some of the other students from the sting identified a preppy white kid as a drug supplier. Now she's telling her this. She's like, I'm gonna tell you this, but I'm not supposed to be telling you this. So the cops think it's Braden Weston. Lauren asks, what about Tariq? And she says, oh, they don't think that Tariq is involved. Whole time, I'm just sitting there shaking my head. This could have all been avoided. Young adults, talk to your parents. So the two, they have some more conversation, and Lauren says that Braden seems so harmless. She has to tell Tariq to stay away from him. And Professor Carrie says, if you do that, and he tells Braden, you will be in a lot of trouble, and Tariq will be your accomplice. You can protect Tariq by getting more info on Braden and everything he knows on that wire. Lauren says she doesn't know, but Milgram pushes her. The faster you do this, the faster you lose the wire, and you and Tariq will be free and clear. Child, whole thing was just slimy as hell. So Braden comes in the room to Kane coming out of his bathroom. Kane says he hasn't been answering his texts, so he figured he'd pop up on him. He asked if he's getting nervous about what happened last night, and Braden's like, nah, he was just in class. He's cool. He asked if, and he says Tariq still hasn't hit him back, and asked him where he's at. I haven't talked to him since yesterday. Maybe he's with this girl. And then Lauren knocks on the door looking for Tariq. How you doing, light skin? Who's your friend, Braden? I'm Lorenzo. You looking for a new friend? Kane has his whole push-up game on, looking straight like a stereotype of a drug dealer. Lauren says, she's not. And how do you know Tariq? He doesn't, but his cousin Z does. I just saw Tariq talking to Zeke's aunt. I mean, just giving up all kinds of information, not knowing this man from a can of paint. Yikes. That's your mom, she asked. Yeah. Do you know where they went? She says she doesn't, but he should be back soon because they're supposed to go looking for apartments. Again, just blabbing. Whole time, Braden's standing there not saying a word, and then finally he's like, I was gonna go grab some lunch, maybe a burger. If I see him, I'll let you know. If I see Tariq, I'll let him know, he tells Lauren. And Kane's like, nah, he wants them digits, and he'll call her when he sees him. Lauren gives him straight look of disgust. She thanks Braden and she leaves. Braden still says nothing to Tariq. Speaking of Tariq, he's waiting outside to talk to the estate conservator. Yes, custody hearing is tomorrow and he needs him to represent him. He says he can pay. Elvin says he can do better. He says he can't. Elvin says he can't do that. He filed the complaint because Estelle was misusing the funds and he's an impartial party. His sole job is to represent James's estate. Isn't making sure his daughter is safe part of that interest, Tariq asks. Elvin says yes, but he is too young to be somebody's guardian. Agreed. I can't remember the man's name, so the man's name is going to be Elvin today. Okay, thanks, guys. So, but Tariq puts on that St. Patrick charm, and Elvin agrees, but he's like, he's not stepping over any lines. Tariq needs to completely fulfill his requirements for custody by the next day. And I said the St. Patrick charm, but I honestly don't know how Tariq gets these adults to go along with the get along with his shenanigans. So Kane talks to Mecca about the conversation with Monet. He's annoyed that Monet did not take all that anger out on Tariq that he thought she would. Now I have to prove myself. He doesn't understand why she didn't come down on Tariq like she did on him. Mecca says, so that thing with your cousin almost went down for, the thing that your cousin almost went down for, that was you and Tariq? How does Mecca know all of this? Did Kane tell him? And if not, why is Kane not more suspicious? So Kane says, I ain't say all that. You're not the type of guy to go down for somebody else. So if you were planning on running to save Zeke, that means you did it. He tells him, you're the plug, so you're indispensable. And Kane says, yeah, but the shit wouldn't work without Tariq either. And Mecca's like, he tells Kane you can find corner boys anywhere. He tells him, you have to make Monet know that you're the right option. Do not let her pick Tariq, even if you have to force her hand. Don't know what any of that means, but screw Mecca. So Drew is chilling with his boo Everett, who's complaining now that Zeke is back. He's happy, but he's down to number 2 on the team and maybe second round on an NBA scout. Drew says he didn't know he wanted to go into the draft this year, and neither did we, Drew. So Everett says he was thinking about it, and they start kissing, and then Zeke knocks on the door. We open the door. Zeke's got a new cut and a color. He asks Drew what he's doing there, but they get to talking, and Zeke's like, he's about his business now. He's going to do what he wants to do, and before he leaves, he's like, wait, how do y'all know each other? And Drew's like, we met at the club on a night that, we all want to forget. They're like, oh, okay. So when he leaves, Everett has an attitude. You lie real easy. You want me to tell the truth? Exactly. Everett want to be in the closet, but have an attitude when when Drew respects his wishes. Make up your mind, homeboy. So Tariq meets with Diana. He needs to get some product without Monet knowing. She wants to know why. He says he needs money to get, his sister out of foster care. He has a family court meeting the next day, and his grandmother got a DWI, so his sister can't stay there anymore. He has to pay for a lawyer and put a deposit down for an apartment. He says Monet shut down Course Correct because she don't trust him. And that confused me because did Monet just tell Kane she couldn't just shut down her business without a plan? But all right, power. So he says he doesn't trust Kane, so he needs Diana to ask him. She agrees on one condition. She doesn't trust Kane either. So she needs Tariq to find out what he's doing. She says, we already know that Kane killed Ramirez. So Ramirez's gun showing up at the professor's murder scene while Zeke is under suspicion, it don't sit right with her. So Diana says, even before she was sure that Kane had switched out the coke with the sugar when Effie and Braden got jumped at Yale. Tariq says, that makes a lot of sense because he's the plug now. If you find anything about Kane, I need you to tell me. Tariq says he's got her. And then Diana runs right to Kane and tells him what's going on. Kane didn't really want to cooperate. Like, I don't understand what's up with this family. They're just double crossing and back crossing each other. Let me get, because I got so many notes. Kane didn't really want to cooperate. And then Diana threatens to tell Monet that he was the one that sugared the coke. When you wanted to get back into the family, Kane says it's fake news, and Diana's like, okay, I'll tell Monet and we'll let her decide if you did it or not. So Kane's like, all right, he'll do it. Just make sure that Tariq comes to get the product himself. So, excuse me guys, Kamaal, Professor Carrie, they're sitting down with Lauren to listen to the conversation, you know, the whole incident that went down with Lorenzo from Hawaii. Detective Kevin, he's also there, and Kamaal says, you know, you need to be more aggressive. They're gonna upgrade her device so they can listen live and coach her on some questions. And Lauren's like, she doesn't think she could do that, but Carrie pushes her and tells her, I need you to be brave. Detective Kevin pulls Kamaal out the room and tells him that cousin Lorenzo is Lorenzo Tejada Jr., goes with a childhood nickname Kane. He has a few misdemeanors and violent offenses that got knocked down. If that's Zeke's cousin, he doesn't need Ramirez. Maybe Zeke got his cousin to pop the cop and take out the professor. I mean, not totally wrong, but Zeke didn't have anything to do with it. But the rest. Kamaal tells him he has no proof or even a motive in why he wants Ramirez dead. Detective Kevin says they're not getting much from Lauren, and this is a lead. Detective Kevin is not going to let the details get in the way of his theory, y'all. So Kamaal thinks that they need to take Tariq St. Patrick more seriously. Maybe Carrie is right and he and Brayden are dealing drugs. But Kevin still says it doesn't give them motive if Tariq and Brayden don't know what the professor knew. He wants to take a look into Kane. Kamaal says, okay, look into it, but we're not going to take it to Jenny, not yet. So Monet tells Lorenzo, excuse me, I'm just like fixing my earring. Lorenzo that the cops aren't looking at Zeke anymore. He says, I told you it will work out, you know, just have faith. So Lorenzo's burner starts to ring in and it sacks. He says he has a hearing the next day. He asked him if he could speak freely. So Lorenzo dismisses Monet, who's like, you know, he's got to take the call. And she hits him with the dead ass before she leaves. And Lorenzo was like, I can tell you anything you want to know. So Detective Kevin, he meets with Jenny at the bar. He tells her he knows Cross wasn't the shooter in the murders, but he knows he's involved in this. He just cannot let it go. Didn't Kamaal tell you not to tell Jenny about this just yet? And here we are. So Jenny asks if he has any evidence of that because she just held a press conference saying otherwise. Detective Kevin says he's been looking into the family. So they exchange a few more words, but Jenny needs more if she's going to get Cross back involved in the whole thing. And she gotta go because Sax is waiting. He and Detective Kevin, they see each other. Sax asks, who's that? She tells him no one. And I was wondering if that was gonna come back in any way to be a problem because Jenny been running her mouth, y'all. So Kane has a product, but Brayden shows up instead of Tariq, and Kane isn't happy about it. Brayden says he just goes where he's told. Kane is like, where is Tariq anyway? Your guess is as good as mine. Kane wants to know what Tariq needs all this from. Like, y'all just got product. Do you think he tells me anything? Kane says, I don't know. You said y'all were equal partners. So Brayden tells him, listen, you're getting paid for this, so I don't know what the issue is. And as Kane leaves, we see Tariq was waiting in the wings. He's got Lauren's car. He follows Kane. Kane gets to Mecca's place, and Tariq takes some pictures on his phone from the car. And then he gets out the car and he takes some more pictures. Once Kane gets buzzed in, Tariq throws on that hoodie and he goes to the buzzer of Mecca's building and starts either recording or taking pictures when Nuff runs up on him and grabs his phone. On the intercom, Chef asks what's up. Nuff's like, he caught someone spying on him. Tariq's like, I wasn't spying on shit. Chef asks who the F that is. Is that one of Mahoney's boys? Kane stands next to Chef and does not say a word. Chef asks if he knows him. Kane says he doesn't know him, but I think Chef can see it all over his face. As Nuff is whooping Tariq's ass, Chef says to Kane, you sure this isn't another one of your friends? Nuff has never been good at stopping once he starts. So then Chef tells Nuff to let him go. Tariq runs off, phoneless, and drives off. He pulls right up to Monet's house, all messed up. As he and Diana are talking, Drew rolls up and gets out of Everett's car, and they take him inside to clean him up. Chef tells Mecca that he doesn't think that it was Mahoney's crew because they wouldn't have sent him alone and unarmed, and Nuff tells Mecca he handled it. And he says, you know, did he show up right when Kane did? You sure you didn't bring him? And Mecca asks if that's true. And Kane says, yeah, he could have been following him. But Kane says he didn't know him. After all this time, Kane is still not being aware of his surroundings. Enough says, how does we know this is not another one of your little friends? I got this phone of him. And then Mecca, he puts that church finger up. He asks Kane if he knew him. You let him follow you here? Kane looks at Nuff and says, nah, he didn't. So Nuff is annoyed, and Mecca says, you know, if you didn't know he was one of Mahoney's boys, you should have never put your hands on the kid. One civilian complaint puts us all at risk. He gives Chef the nod. Chef slices his throat, and he bleeds out all next to them prawns. Mecca says he always did think he talked too much for somebody that's expendable, and that he did. But this was on Kane. Kane looks worried, and he grabs Tariq's phone when no one is looking. David is at the prison. He's talking to his brother, and he says, you know, the brother says he saw him clear Zeke on TV. He's like, he really didn't do it because that interview, whoo, child. You know, Davis is like, you know, it's hard to get innocent people to lie. He tells him that Sachs is working on an appeal that's similar to his case, and if he gets him out, he's gonna pivot him right to Redman. Can't remember his name either, so he's gonna be Redman. Redman asks if he's sure he wants to do this. He's okay. Redman says he's okay in there. Things could come out, not the way, and Davis says not the way that he's gonna play it. I will do anything to get you out of here, and I will do anything to keep you out of here, Redman says. So it looks like Redman is in there for Davis, but I guess we will find out more about that in another episode. So Tariq shows up in Lauren's car the next day, face all beat up, to look at this apartment. He gets out the car. He apologizes for being late, says he was stuck in traffic. The lady takes one look at his face and says, yes, well, the apartment is no longer available. And she walks off. And Lauren said, Lauren wants to know where he's been and why he hasn't been answering his phone. And then she says, and what happened to your face? Are you okay? My camera's crooked. We're going to rock with it. He says he got robbed, but he's fine. He says he really needs this place. So Lauren's like, you know, I think I have an idea. She takes him to her brother's spot. She says she was going to, like, you know, offer it to him before, but she knows he's not good at taking help. It's a temporary situation for now, but she's got the keys. She shows him around. He says he appreciates it. Oh, and she has a lease too. So she says if he stays there, that he doesn't have to stay with Brayden anymore. And here we go. Lauren says, don't you think it's weird how happy he was when Professor Reynolds died? And then he's talking about him like something with the girls, you know how dudes be. And Tariq's like, Brayden did not even know Professor Reynolds until I told him about him. And honestly, I don't know why he would care. So Lauren keeps going about Brayden being, you know, being visible as a Weston, and about, you know, and what about the book that Professor Reynolds was writing? You don't think that was about Brayden? That response, the response should have been, what book? How did Lauren know about the book? Did he bring it up at the dinner? Because I don't remember that. And if he didn't, that's a huge red flag for Tariq. But Tariq keeps going, how the book definitely was not about Brayden. Professor Reynolds told me what it was about me the whole time watching, saying, so Tariq, shut up. Just shut up. Your pillow talking with no pillow. Just shut up. So he continues. On top of that, he only wrote about black people anyway. Kamaal and Detective Kevin are listening in a nearby van, and Kamaal is hyped. Reynolds told him what the book was going to be about. Detective Kevin says, yeah, which means it's probably not about him. But Kamaal has done his research. He's even looked into Tariq's choke record. He was living with Weston back then and was expelled for drugs. Kamaal believes it's motive. Detective says he does not think it makes any sense and it's not enough for a warrant, but Kamaal says it is enough for Stansfield to open up Tariq's dorm so he can look around. So Monet is calling Tariq when Kane walks in with his phone and plops it on the counter. What's this, she asks. It's what you wanted. Tariq's phone. He has a custody hearing tomorrow at 3 for his sister. They could have killed us both, you know, for what both for what you did. Sending Tariq to follow me to the Connect, I'm not stupid. All of this time, I'm out here blaming Tariq for everything, but it's clear to me now you're the problem. I'm thinking you're going to let me back in, and you was going to play me like you played all of us. I didn't make you kill Ramirez or Reynolds. I do whatever I need to do to make sure that this family and business don't fall. That's the problem, Kane says. It's always family and business. These two are having a whole yelling match, y'all. What am I to you? Your soldier or your son? You're both. Then what kind of mother does that make you, he asks. Make sure Tariq gets his phone, and then he leaves. So now Monet, she pulls up on Tariq. He's at, outside the courthouse. She tells him to get in. He tells her he doesn't have time for all this, and she says he failed. Kane was not supposed to find out about what they were doing. He tells her he didn't tell Kane. He got caught following him, and when you got caught, you didn't call me? I mean, well, he did go to your house, but clearly you weren't there. So these are the consequences for your actions. You never think your dirt is gonna come back to you. So we're gonna sit here and wait for you to lose your sister the way I almost lost Zeke. Shouldn't take long. He says he got information. He got an address. He got a name. The name is Mecca. He can get more. And Monet starts talking about consequences and breaking rules. And now you know that I'm the one in control. And why she say that? Tariq looks at his watch and he looks at the courthouse. He tells Monet that she is wrong. You think you're in control, but you're on an island. You don't even know it. She tells him to watch his mouth. You really think you could do this shit without me? Half the shit that's going on under your nose, you don't even see it. Kane replaced your work. He replaced Rico's work with sugar just to get you to take him back. Drew's still messing around with that dude that dropped him and Zeke's name at school about the dead body in the pool. Now, I don't know how he knew about ever dropping the name, but I'm gonna let him finish his read. And Diana, she stole that money out the bar. Not sure how he knew that either. You can't do this shit without me. You need me. And I need my sister. So Monet's whole face is cracked. It's on the floor. She lets Tariq out. Tariq is late, but he gets to court. He's there. The judge's like, you're bad, says he's barely an adult, and he looks like he's just been in a brawl. Elvin steps up and says that he's shown he is willing and able to step up into a role that is beyond his years. He points out that Estelle misused the money for the trust fund. Tariq can provide stability until Miss Green has recovered. Tariq steps up and speaks on his behalf, saying that he just needs a chance. The judge asked Big Mama if she used the child's funds to support her drinking habit. I admit my drinking got away from me, Your Honor, but I'm better now. So the judge asked her if she's completed a rehabilitation program. Ma'am says no, but she prayed on it. Tariq steps up and he says he can pay for his grandmother's rehab and no one is going to question how he got the money. He loves his grandmother, but she is just not in Yasmin's best interest right now. He wants his grandmother to be strong enough, and she will in the future, but he is strong enough now. He continues to plead his case, and the judge grants him custody on a temporary basis, but one misstep and she will be forced back into the he will force the child back into the state care. He and Elvin thank her. Big Mama is distraught. The new dean is watching as Kamaal and some other officer go through Tariq and Braden's room. The officer, who actually may have been campus security, not sure, says there's nothing there. Dean says, then you need to vacate now. Kamaal says, hold on, and then he magically discovers Ramirez's badge. Monet goes to talk to Dante. She led the kids down the wrong path. They don't trust her. They don't trust each other. They had this whole long conversation. She thought she was making them strong. Maybe they need a fresh start. Maybe she does too. Dante asks, could he meet Zeke now? She says she's going to need some time to speak to her kids. But yes, Monet is ready to run away with this man. He says, anything you need, and they kiss, and I still don't trust him. He has yet to tell her he's the plug. He has yet to tell Kane that he knows Monet on a personal level. So after court, Yaz and Tariq hug. He says he's going to set up the apartment, and then in a little while she could come stay with him. He tells her grandma loves her. She's just going through a lot. And they'll help her, and then they'll be a family again. So he returns to campus. There are students outside. There are police are over. There are two cops talking to Braden. Tariq looks at him. Braden kind of gives him that head movement, like that head movement. But I'm like, what happened to a text message or something? Like a little heads up. Kamaal approaches him from behind. Tariq St. Patrick, you are under arrest for the murders of Officer Danilo Ramirez and Professor Jabari Reynolds. Carrie, what the F, Tariq says as they cuff him and they take him away. Lauren calls Tariq named, and Professor Carrie's like, let him go. It's what he deserves. And everyone watched as they walk him through campus. Yikes. So we see Davis get a call. Tariq's in his cell, and then they tell him his lawyer is there, but it's not Davis. It's the estate conservator, He hands him an envelope. Tariq asks what it is. He says he does not know what's inside. He was supposed to give it to him in the event that he was arrested for homicide. It's from his father. He says that he had hoped he would never have to give it to him, and he leaves. So Tariq is back in his cell. He opens the envelope and it says, "I knew you end up here, little nook, right where you belong. Petty boots," and I'm gonna address the same thing everyone else is saying. One, Ghost wouldn't say that. Maybe Kanan, but not Ghost. Courtney said he would, but... And two, we couldn't get Omari to read that. It's just a line. Hell, we had a whole Raina scene after she was gone, and this just goes to show you that that relationship between Courtney and Omari is no bueno. It's lights out, and I thought we in here, but it's power, so no. Monet pulls up at her house in her bench truck. She's a woman with a plan. As she's walking inside, we hear talking and she's looking confused. There's a lot of Spanish speaking going on. She comes in the room and tries to fix her face. It's Lorenzo. "Mo, I'm home." Diana is looking suspect, as she should. Drew asked how she kept it a secret. "That's why you've been acting weird." "Yeah, I guess I didn't want to ruin the surprise." Kane got a smirk on his face, and we end with Monet looking stuck. We are all set for episode 6 on Sunday, guys. Put in the comments what you think that's going to happen now that Lorenzo is home. I am curious to see how Tariq gets out of this one. I hope you'll come back and join me for my review. If you've made it this far, put an envelope emoji in the comments for Ghost's little letter that he left Tariq. While you're here, please check out some of my other content. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. Did I say like, subscribe, and share? Peace.